Do you believe that if there is some restoration of confidence across the world, then global businesses like yours will want to now embark on a more aggressive expansion plan? That will mean you need access to capital, and that stuff to come by in India because it's gotten costlier.
I really don't think so.
No? Okay.
I think what has really happened in India in post 2008 September is we have learned a lot of lessons how to manage a downturn, at least in the manufacturing sector. I remember in November 2008 we went from 100 to 10 in terms of top line. It was pretty bad. So we have learned to manage. We have become a lot more fitter, a lot more productive, and this is now helping us gain market shares. The reason why we are growing is not because America is back to 16 or 17 million cars and Europe is back to 2007 automotive production. No, we're growing because there are other guys who haven't done so well in the downturn.
Okay, so you've managed it better.
So a lot of companies in India have managed the downturn well.
Okay.
They're in a pretty good shape. And companies that have this kind of fundamentals really don't have a problem in terms of fundraising. So
are you now in expansionary mode if you believe fundraising is not a challenge at all? And does this mean that this year you have enough confidence to go out there and start getting a little more aggressive both organically and inorganically?
Well, we are not in a fundraising mode. We are in expansion mode.
For expansion mode,
yes.
Sure.
Yeah. We are expanding our capacities. We believe in the Indian market.
Expanding them overseas as well? Are you back on the acquisition trail, if I may ask, since you were amongst the early birds?
We are not on an acquisition trail, but we are expanding our capacities. We are putting in some new greenfield capacities outside India. But largely we are expanding capacities in India because, look at the India story. We will have these ups and downs, interest rates going up, inflation coming, getting control. But in 2020, India will make something like 9 million cars. That's everybody's estimate from today's 2.5 million. So if you don't grow by 4 times in the next 10 years, you're not even keeping up with the market.
Okay, so your faith stays strong within the Indian market.
I'm very convinced about the Indian market, the fundamentals of the Indian market.
Accompanied by expansion globally now.
There will be some ups and downs. There will be some cycles.
Are you looking at newer markets as you see growth come back in some of the Western markets, for instance?
We have focused a lot on the industrial side, the non-automotive side.
Right, yes, I know. That's been the biggest diversification.
And we have grown quite dramatically in that business, both overseas as well as in India. Right now it's about 37% of our revenue. It used to be less than 10 at one time.
So what new markets are you looking at?
Energy sector, conventional as well as renewable.
Okay.
Oil and gas. We do a lot of work in the United States in oil and gas for deep sea exploration, also supplying.
And that's looking good to you right now?
Yeah, very good.
Okay. Shale? Are you exposed to shale?
Yeah, we supply a lot of components that go into shale drilling.
Excellent. So all of those markets are looking like buoyant markets.
Absolutely.
All right, Mr. Munjal, I know we've spoken about inflation, we've spoken about growth in India. What we haven't spoken about is governance, and that's the last issue that I do want to pick up. And unfortunately, I'm going to pick it up with you because you've chosen to be politically incorrect on this discussion. Do you believe in all your conversations with business leaders, politicians here in Davos, that they've been raising the India corruption issue, to a degree, and saying, well, this is hurting India's attractiveness?
Well, let me say it this way, that in a way it's good that the media is raising this issue, but on the other side, I personally would wish that we deal with these issues back home. I personally would like the Indian media to come and drum up the India story here in Davos. India Inclusive is all about what we are talking about here, what we want to talk about here, and I would wish the Indian media also to back that story, the India story. Yes, we have to take care of all these things. We have to take care of governance back home, but let's do it back home.
You're saying it isn't hurting the India attractiveness this year?
It is hurting, but then the kind of hype that the media is creating about all of this over here, it is hurting even more.
So how is pushing it under the carpet going to do away with it?
I'm not saying push it under the carpet. I'm saying let's deal with it at home.
In the US, so many scams are taking place.
But we're not the US, we're India, and it's all right to introspect.
Just a moment. So therefore, if you put it in perspective, we've actually hyped it up much more. I think we need to curb the tendency to get into a position whereby we say first that you are guilty until you prove yourself innocent.
Forget the corruption for a minute. Mr. Deveshwar, do you believe that the UPA government has lived up to its expectations? This is UPA 2 that I'm referring to with regards to moving policy forward.
But this is the society in which we are living.
So can't we resign to no change?
No, because nobody is resigned to no change. I think we come a long way. I can tell you, as far as governance in the corporate sector is concerned, right, I'm not saying that there will not be exceptions. There will be people who would be doing things who will not be transparent, whose balance sheets you will not be able to decipher as to what's going on, right? But by and large, I would say that there is much more dependability and much more transparency in the balance sheets of the top companies in India than was the case.
You've not answered my question on whether you're happy with the performance of UPA 2 when it comes to moving policy.
Let me interject there, and let me once again be politically incorrect and say that the UPA government, according to the industry, has not performed the way it should have performed.
Expectations were high.
Expectations were much more.
Right.
Expectations were higher.
But we shouldn't talk about it here in Davos.
No, I'm sure Yogi also wishes that we see that kind of performance going forward.
I think our polity has to now begin to give a clear mandate. This coalition kind of arrangement.
There is no coalition partner that is holding this government back in basic reform that we need in the country, including reform in governance practices.
Do you really believe that the leadership of the coalition government does not wish to put in place governance that actually uplifts our society and gets more transparency and actually gets
that's what I'm saying. You're saying the same thing that I am.
No,
coalition party is opposed to.
It's not true. But look at what is happening. We are any excuse to drum it up and bring everything else to a halt.
Let's have
the final word on this issue from you. So before
let me just tell you something that I heard. I was part of a panel between India and China, friends or enemies. Okay, and we had 3 Indians and 3 Chinese, out of which Shobna was there.
Right.
And then we had this Chinese TV anchor who came with Prime Minister Wen Jiabao when he came. And the consensus of the 100-odd people in the room and all the guys who spoke, all the people who spoke was, we need to do, this is India and China, nothing to do with our governance issue.
Right.
But we need to speak less about our border disputes, less about issues that are negative between India and China, and talk more about the positives that are going on. But negatives are, there are platforms to take care of. It's not that you sleep on it or something like that. But that was the consensus.
Okay, so you're saying the same thing as Mr. Munjal. I will pass on this issue here.
Just give me a second. The negative issues are always picked up much faster and much more by everyone.
Bad news is always good news.
Absolutely. So let's talk about this.
I have 10 seconds for each one of you, and I'd like you to wrap up on your key takeaways from Davos, whether it's the risks you see to the global economy or it's the risks you see to India. But a quick short question on key takeaways from Davos.
Well, the quick one is that India, China are having a great time over here in Davos.
Okay.
And the whole world is noticing that.
Okay. Yeah. Any downside risks to the global economy that you're factoring in?
Yes, there is a lot of pessimism around here.
Really? I thought this year there was some sense of renewed confidence.
No, I'm seeing a lot of pessimism, especially about Europe.
Especially about Europe.
Yeah.
Mr. Deveshwar?
I attended a sort of a session on renewable energy. And I was amazed to learn that technology is changing so fast and people haven't gotten anywhere. India has an enormous opportunity using its talented resource to actually invest money in R&D, biosciences, life sciences, in a whole host of areas where, history of R&D is not going to hold you back.
Okay.
It is absolutely fresh.
Right.
And I think we should really, not really depend on technology elsewhere. Of course, if somebody else invents something or discovers something, we should have access to it. But there is an opportunity
for a big push
for a big push, particularly in molecular biology, biosciences, agri-sciences, where you can really take a leap forward.
All right. Last word to you, Mr. Kalyan.
I would echo the same sentiments. I think there is a lot of opportunity for India and China to work together in technology.
That's your key takeaway from Davos?
Yeah, because I did a lot of Chinese sessions,
okay,
and I'll come to that. So that's one area. I think we need to really raise the level of cooperation and commercial relationships between China and India, especially in the high technology area, renewable energy, agricultural, sciences, etc. The risk that I see here, which is what I heard from most people, is people are scared of the commodity cycle that's coming up, especially on oil, on minerals. And the commodity cycle is not so much about supply and demand. It's also about a lot about people taking positions, speculation, and prices going through the roof.
So an acid bubble of sorts.
Yes. So if that happens, I think it'll hit India quite badly.
So that's the biggest risk that you see for 2011.
Yeah.
Do you believe China will be able to slow down this year? The last year they were trying to, and they hit 10.3%. So that's what you get when you're trying to slow down. I wonder what you get this year.
I mean, I don't think anybody's trying to slow down. I think they're trying to control their economy.
Yeah, and a soft landing of sorts. That's what they're saying.
But the Chinese economy is doing very well. It's growing fast. So are we right now. But the commodity, cycle, if it comes, the commodity prices going up 50%, things like that, will have a measurable